Welcome to today's Crosspoint Devotion. Today I want to take you to the Book of Proverbs. It is one of my favorite books in the Bible, and the reason I enjoy the Book of Proverbs so much is it's not deeply theological, it's very practical and relevant for everyday life. Now, do we need theological truths? Absolutely. But do we need some practical advice sometimes in our lives? We really do. And in the Book of Proverbs, there's this constant friction between folly and wisdom. And that's the way we live every day. We either choose to live in a way that represents folly, or we choose to live in a way that represents wisdom. And in today's verse, what we're going to find is that our faces sometimes give an indication of whether we are living the folly life or the wisdom life. Now let me read the verse for you. It's Proverbs chapter 12, verse 16. A fool's displeasure is known at once, but whoever ignores an insult is sensible. People can read our faces every day in the conversations that we're having with them. Now, I know there are going to be a few people who are watching this video and you're really good at controlling your facial expressions. You have what we would call a poker face. It doesn't matter what someone says or what they don't say, your face never changes. But for the vast majority of us, we don't have a poker face. People can read us like a book immediately when they're talking with us. Yesterday, we were having a three-way conversation in my office. It was between Clark and Sarav and myself. Clark was doing the talking and was presenting an idea for us to consider. When he finished presenting his idea, he could tell without Sarav saying a word or without me saying a word that the two of us didn't necessarily agree with his point. So he stopped the conversation and he said something along these lines. I can tell you guys really don't agree with what I've just said. Now, neither one of us had spoken. We were just looking at Clark. We were just evaluating and listening to what he said. But apparently, based on the facial expressions that both of us gave Clark, he knew immediately we didn't agree. Thankfully, Sarav spoke up and said to Clark, Clark, I think you need to give us a little further explanation, and then maybe we'll understand better what you meant by that previous statement. And once Clark explained more fully what he had in mind, we both said, oh, I get it. I understand now. But Clark's first cue that he needed to stop the conversation and regroup and ask us our thoughts was based on what he saw on our faces. That brings us back to Proverbs chapter 12, verse 16. Listen to what it says. Again, we're contrasting the life of folly that does not honor God with the life of wisdom that does honor God. And here's what it says. A fool's displeasure is known at once. I bet you and I have both had some days when people were talking to us and they said something to us and they could tell immediately that we were feeling displeasure with what they said. In the context of this verse, it's about being insulted. We've all had conversations with maybe neighbors or friends or coworkers where they've said something that insulted us and our face immediately gave the indication, I don't like what you just said. But listen to the way of wisdom, the life of wisdom that honors God. It's the second part of the verse. But whoever ignores an insult is sensible. Wouldn't it be great if, as we serve and walk with Jesus each day, that we're so content with who we are in Christ that even when the world insults us, people insult us, we just let it roll off of our backs and it never changes our facial expression. This verse reminds us that the fool is the one who lets his immediate displeasure rise to the surface of his face, while it's the one who's wise, who's able to ignore the insult and stay focused on the things of God. It's not easy. It's going to be really hard work for some of us, especially those of us who do not have a poker face. But let me encourage you that the way of wisdom means that sometimes we can't let everything that we're thinking, everything that we're feeling come immediately to the surface of our face. Because if we do, we may end up in a contentious moment where we end up saying things and doing things that we never intended to do and that harm our witness for Jesus. And so therefore, I want to encourage you maybe to memorize Proverbs 12, verse 16. A fool's displeasure is known at once, but whoever ignores an insult is sensible, is wise, is honoring to God. I want to encourage you this week to work on your facial expressions and to make sure that even those are honoring to God. Well, I hope that'll challenge you and encourage you. We hope you've enjoyed the devotion and will come back and join us for the next Crosspoint devotion. We hope you have a great day.